this is a account on Hostaway, and there's a beautiful button here on the top right that says co-host. So I'm just going to go in there and see what's going on. I think straight from the get-go, there's already quite a lot of things that are being recommended, right? So in reservations tab, there's a bunch of things that I can ask. On the performance tab, there's a stuff of recommended questions I can ask. And on the quality tab, there's a set of recommended questions I can ask. But why don't we start simple, right? Like, let's just do something very easy. What are the check-ins for today? Because I'm waking up and I want to know what's going on. And again, co-host is going to go into your account and is going to figure out what's going on, and it's seeing exactly what's happening. Okay, so there's a Dorothy checking in. She's checking in early. John is asking kind of 2 p.m. Okay, that's great. I kind of want to know, is there anything special? Are there any special requests, right? So is there anything I need to know of these specific check-ins, just to understand what I need to do? I see so many questions all at the same time, and I can't even, I'm not that good of a multitasker. So I think Marcus, Josh, Alex, you guys are going to have to help me for sure if I see how many questions are already in the Q&A section now, and we're just a few minutes in. All right, so this is great. So Dorothy is going to be checking in around 3 p.m. and Hoyt asked about parking. So that probably means I need to make sure that his license plate is added to the parking lot so he can actually get there himself. So that's good. That's an easy start, right? That's a smooth, short, easy start. Let's go a bit more and maybe the analyze, right? So let's just actually see how are my listings performing over the last few months, over the last 6 months, and how does it compare? How does it compare year over year? Over year. Show me. Let's see. So co-host is pulling all your data. It's not requiring you to build a dashboard or apply a bunch of filters. It's actually going through your real historical data to figure out exactly what's going on. And I think there's quite some interesting views here, right? Let me actually check this graph. It looks a bit small. I'm actually going to just double check here. Okay, so this Yogi Toad is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in my portfolio. That's interesting. Okay, there's quite some differences here. That's quite interesting. What's actually happening here? So there's a year-on-year reduction. The revenue per night is up substantially, and Yogi Top by far is the best one. Okay, so this is interesting. I've asked the question, but now I kind of want to maybe know a little bit more, right? Like, what are my worst performing properties, and maybe like ignore the ones that are zero, right? I think if it's zero, I'm probably still onboarding it. I want to kind of just know the real kind of properties that are actually happening, actually doing stuff. All right, so okay, there's quite a lot of opportunity here to get the 3% occupancy up. I think that's probably a problem here. Okay, so there's quite some insights here, but what can I actually do with this? I actually just want to know what do reviews say here, right? What do reviews say on these worst performing properties? I'm just gonna see what this actually means, because why is this low, right? I could have seen myself in the dashboard, that there was a low kind of occupancy, but like I would love to actually understand why without having to go through 3, 4, 5 different pages to kind of figure this out myself.
While the co-host is thinking, I see that there's a lot more questions on the chat than there is on the QA functionality. We won't be able to go through the chat questions, but please put your questions in the Q&A section. If you have a smaller window, click on more, and there's a QA section. We promise we'll get back to those that we have time to come back to.
So this is actually a perfect example, right? Because what I actually asked the co-host is, what did the reviews say, right? The reviews are normally what you look at to see how your company or how your properties are performing. What co-host actually figured out, because it understands the short-term rental market and understands how STR businesses work, it actually didn't do what I asked. It actually went a step beyond. It didn't just look at my reviews, but actually started analyzing the guest messages that were actually coming from real guests to understand really what is happening in the real conversations between you, basically your team and the actual guests. And this is where I see there's quite some topics that I need to address, right? Things like door code, access issues, cleanliness issues, Wi-Fi being down since arrival. That stuff is like non-negotiable in 2026, right? I think Wi-Fi is coming a recurring issue for several properties, which kind of means I probably got to invest in a good IT guy. I would say I can help you. I'm quite the good nerd myself, but I've been busy building stuff for you guys, so I'm probably not going to help you fix your Wi-Fi, unfortunately. So let's see. There's quite some good stuff here. Maybe go one level deeper. What are the biggest complaints, right? What are the biggest complaints? What are the biggest complaints? Yeah, so the check-in, the Wi-Fi cleanliness, these are real things I'm going to make sure my team is on top of, because this is not really acceptable. And it's, pulling it from a different variety of sources, from the OTAs, from the reviews, from the guest messages, and it's really giving me a very tangible set of actions. I may be also a little bit lazy, right? And this sounds too surprise to some, not so much of a surprise like others. So I'm actually a little bit bored with the typing, and I want to have maybe go a little bit deeper on the analyze part. I want to know in much more depth what's actually where are my guests from. I want to know what channels they're originating from and like what kind of differences are there. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to just start talking to co-host. Hey, co-host, can you maybe visualize for me where my guests are coming from which channel? What are my best performing channels over time? There we go. So that saved me at least 20 seconds to type. Even if I'm a fast keyboard nerd, keyboard warrior, I think, there's not much that can beat actual real-time voice. And this is interesting. Okay, so direct is doing really well. This user has 38.6% of their market coming from direct actual bookings, which I think probably means that they're using our advanced booking engine, which we launched just a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't seen that, I would recommend go watch the last webinar when we launched another major product to kind of get you help you with getting much more direct bookings as well. But this is really interesting because since we launched that, the actual percentage of direct bookings for this customer has gone up substantially, right? Followed by a steady growth in booking.com. And it's giving me much more opportunities here to kind of go deeper. I think I could probably come up with 20 more questions that I'm going to could ask around the channel distribution, how I could optimize this and how I could optimize my listings and how I can optimize like the actual ADR, RevPAR and all this stuff. But I don't want to bore you guys. So I maybe going to, I don't know, one or two things that I kind of can ask as well, because I can go and keep going all day here, to be honest. What about expenses, right? So one thing that comes up quite often, I think, is, not just managing guests, but you also want to manage your owners, right? They're on the phone, they're asking you questions. What's going on with this? What's going on with that? So, actually, let's just go there. I also actually love to understand on the fee side, right? Like what type of fees are kind of recurring, or maybe are there different properties that have a disproportionate amount of fees that, owners are complaining around as well. So let's see. Hey, co-host, are there any properties with disproportionate fees or expenses that I should double check? Can you maybe show me per listing what I should double check? So let's see what's going on here. There's so many questions. It's crazy. All right. So there's a few of them here. Okay. So guest fees are pretty high. That's interesting. I think there's some disproportionate amount of cleaning fees for these few properties. So I should probably take a look at that. I think tax mapping also, okay, I'm going to double check this later. I think there's quite some, actually, it's giving me some pretty good recommendations, right? So show me a rank table of every listing's fees and expense percentages. I kind of want to know this, right? I don't even have to come up with the question myself. It's actually going to figure it out. I want to know this for maybe this one. Let's see what we find. Let's see. All right. Okay. So the taxes, hotel taxes, interesting. Okay. So I think this is not correct. And I'm going to check this later, because we should not have 25% of the revenue going to taxes. I think we've misconfigured something on the OTA side, or the OTAs are charging me too much. But I'm going to check this later, and it's giving me some actionable stuff on what I actually should be doing. Maybe one last thing. I'm going to take a sip of water. That's first, because it's about 34 degrees here today, Celsius. So it's getting quite warm and steamy here. Maybe it's a very practical last example. I just kind of want to know, what do I need to focus on, right? Like my team is running the business. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of check-ins, a lot of checkouts, a lot of turnover. What is the real thing that I should be focusing on today? I want to know maybe what happened the last week. Hey, co-host, what have guests been saying for the last week that I really should be focused on today? Are there any urgent messages or anything I should focus on that my team hasn't done yet? Let's see what's going on here. I kind of want to know just a very actionable plan. What do I need to focus on? It's 9 a.m. I'm ready for the week. What has my team done? What has my team not done yet? I really want to just be very tangible and very kind of actionable to understand what my time needs to go to as well. All right, so there's some access issues, some lock issues. Okay, I can open straight away the conversation or the actual reservation straight from co-host. That's very helpful. There's some critical maintenance. There's no hot water in the shower and it needs fixing today. That's really not great. And I think there's some actual questions here that I really need to make sure I'm going to give my team a call that they can't have, what's her name, Camilla Bauch, wait for hot water. Although I will admit in the 33 degrees Celsius, I would prefer the cold over the hot water today. And maybe the last thing, and this is, I think, kind of another thing, right? There's a bunch of questions here, a bunch of actions for me. Some are more important than other things are, but I'm not alone, right? So I might have some different nationalities in my team. I might have some different kind of people that have kind of run our day-to-day operations. So let me change it up a little bit. Excusez-moi, co-host, donnez-moi les 13 priorités principales. Merci. Let's just see what we're going to get here because actually a lot parts of my team is French speaking. So it seems that Yannick Stam is the biggest one that needs focus. So I think that's the one that we're going to have to focus on mostly. And maybe lastly, to drive this point down as well, because I think there's this misconception that like Hostaway is just an American company, which we're not because we're a global company. We're a kind of a global kind of PMS for all types of customers. Let's just kind of just switch it up one more time, which is also partially maybe an ability for me to kind of show all the amazing language skills I have. Hola, co-host. ¿Me puedes decir esto también en español? Let's see what's going on. Okay, it can. I just wanted to double check it can do it in Spanish. And if I'm working on it anyway, I think there's in the chat, there's some people realizing my Dutch accent coming through. Co-host, kan je me dit ook in het Nederlands vertellen? Heb ik nog iets anders waar ik echt op moet focussen? And that's the last thing I'm going to do because I think I'm going to try. Yeah, so it's still Yannick Stam, and there's indeed a couple of other things that, he cannot enter the building. We need to focus on this. I can go for hours. I can do so much kind of different kind of use cases and not just that amount of languages, but like just also inside the actual PMS context. There's quite a lot of stuff to do here. I think this is a starting point, right? So we're going to be building more and more stuff on top of co-host over the next couple of years, right? We've already been working for quite some time on making this a real good experience because, what I said, there's already been quite some customers that have been using this for the last couple of months to kind of be an early access user for us as well.